Hello everyone, Mr. Tomashik here. Today I want to talk to you about double replacement reactions. Now we've already talked about double replacement reactions a little bit and identified what type they are. This is the one that we called partner exchange. Partner exchange, and the different parts of two compounds will swap partners on this. Example we looked at was sodium sulfide and cadmium nitrate, and when they swap partners we get cadmium sulfide and sodium nitrate. Now when you look at this, you see cadmium has two nitrates, NO3, attached. Why does sodium only have one? The reason is that sodium is a 1 plus ion and nitrate, NO3, is a 1 minus ion. So the correct formula is NaNO3 for sodium, and cadmium is a 2 plus ion. Therefore, there's two nitrates attached to it. And then we could balance it, putting a coefficient in front of sodium nitrate, and so on. All right, it's a double replacement reaction. All right, I want to look at a couple of other examples of double replacement reactions. All right, consider this: calcium chloride and potassium nitrate. Now, if this is a double replacement reaction, then we're going to have that partner exchange happen, and then we would expect to get calcium nitrate and potassium chloride. And again, calcium's 2 plus and a nitrate is a 1 minus, so the correct formula is CaNO3 taken twice. And then we could balance it with a couple of coefficients and we'd be set to go. All right, now if we actually did this reaction, what would it look like? If I take some calcium chloride and dissolve it into some water, I create a calcium chloride solution. And that solution would be clear, and you would not be able to tell that there's even anything in the solution at all. The same thing with potassium nitrate. It can dissolve in water, and it would make a clear solution as well. To perform the reaction, then, what you would do is just pour one into the other. All right, let's take a look at what this might actually look like. Here we have some calcium chloride. Now, this is the stuff that you sometimes put on your sidewalk to make the ice melt, calcium chloride. There's other compounds we use for that purpose too as well, but this is a common one that we use for melting ice on sidewalks, calcium chloride. Now, it takes a little while to dissolve in water, but eventually you swirl it around and it will become a clear solution. Potassium nitrate looks kind of like salt, and it too dissolves quite easily in water. All right, swirl it around a little bit and soon we'll have a clear solution and you won't be able to tell there's any ions present at all. And then to perform the reaction, then you would just pour one into the other. So we'll let it sit for a while till everything is dissolved, and then we can pour one into the other and watch the reaction happen. In this case, nothing happens. It just remains a clear liquid. No bubbles, no fizz, no color change. Nothing happened at all. So in this case, we're going to say that this results in no reaction. No reaction. Now, why is that? What do you end up with? All you end up with is a beaker full of ions, and you still can't even tell what's in the water there. It's still a clear solution, and no reaction happened in this case. All right, let's look at another example, and then we'll determine why does a reaction happen sometimes and sometimes not. All right, let's look at this example. Here we have potassium iodide and lead nitrate. Potassium iodide, lead nitrate. And if it's double replacement, we could predict that products would be potassium nitrate and lead iodide. Potassium nitrate and lead iodide. Now, balancing it would require a couple of coefficients there. Now, what would this look like? Let's take a look at this reaction. All right, in this case, we have potassium iodide, looks like salt, and it dissolves in water quite easily as well. Swirl it around, and we have, again, a clear solution that you cannot even tell that there's anything dissolved in it. All On the other one, we're going to put some lead nitrate. And lead nitrate looks kind of like sugar. And it too dissolves quite easily in water. So we'll put a little in, swirl it around, and again, we have a clear solution. Now, to perform the reaction, we just pour one into the other. And we have two clear solutions here. And when we pour one into the other, whoa, it turns yellow. All right, it turns yellow. So that's indicative that a chemical reaction has happened. If we get bubbles or fizz or color change or heat or something like that, then a reaction has occurred. So definitely we have a reaction happening. Now, if we were to let this sit overnight, the yellow stuff will probably sink to the bottom, kind of like silt in the bottom of a pond. And there, that would be a solid. If you look at the reaction, notice that potassium nitrate says aqueous and the lead iodide says solid. So that's a clue as to why this chemical reaction actually happened. All right. We call that solid a precipitate. So if a precipitate forms, then this reaction can happen. A precipitate is a solid that forms during a chemical reaction. Now, if I poured this through a filter, like a filter paper, we could actually get that solid out of it, just like coffee grounds in a coffee pot. Now, how then can we tell if a chemical reaction can happen or not? We need to refer to a solubility table. All right, this tells us if compounds can dissolve in water or not. Now, what are we looking at here? On the right-hand side, we have a list of positive ions, cations. All of them are metals. Some are 1+, some are 2+, some are even 3+. Along the top, we have negative ions or anions. Now, this chart doesn't show the formulas for such. So over here on the side, we have what those actual formulas are. On the back side of your table, it has a similar chart too as well. Now, and then we have a grid here. So we could put together any two ions, cations with anions, and form a compound. For example, calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate. All right, that is a compound. And we could have, say, magnesium acetate, silver phosphate. All right, any one of those compounds. Now, what does the chart tell us? Each one of these boxes has got a symbol in it. One of them could be AQ. So if we have a AQ in that box, what that means is that that substance dissolves in water. That substance dissolves in water. For example, aluminum chloride dissolves in water. Calcium carbonate, chromate dissolves in water. Calcium carbonate does not. All right, so that's what it's telling us. The S means a solid precipitate. So if we put calcium and carbonate ions into the same beaker, we would suddenly have a solid precipitate. A solid precipitate. Now, there's also an X in some of the boxes, and that just means that they don't exist. So probably what happens is some kind of decomposition occurs when those ions get together. All right, that's an advanced topic. We won't worry about that for now. So for now, this chart is just telling us if something can dissolve, and then it will say AQ, or not, and it will say S. All right, so that is our reference that will tell us if a reaction happens or not. Okay, here's your general rule. For a reaction to happen, one or more of the products, and there's always two of them in this case for double replacement, one of them has to be a solid for the reaction to happen. If they're both AQ and AQ, then all you get is a beaker full of ions and nothing happens. So in order for a double replacement reaction to actually happen, you have to have at least one of the products become a solid, a precipitate. All right, if we go back and look at the compounds we were dealing with here, potassium nitrate, lead iodide. Potassium nitrate, lead iodide on the chart. Potassium, all potassium compounds dissolve, so that definitely dissolves. And then we had lead iodide, which is right here. Here's iodide and lead iodide. It has an S. So that formed a solid precipitate. So that's why that reaction actually happened. If we go back to the first reaction, we have calcium nitrate and potassium iodide. Now remember, all potassium compounds dissolve. In fact, all nitrate compounds all dissolve as well. So then we just get a beaker full of ions and nothing happens. All right. So for double replacement reactions, that's how we can tell if they'll happen or not. You have to have at least one of the products be a solid in order for the reaction to happen. And then when that one that is the solid is called the precipitate. The other one may just stay dissolved, and that doesn't end up doing anything. All right, we call those spectator ions. They just don't really do anything. All right, but these ions turn into a solid. So when we started, we had two compounds that do dissolve in water, but then when we put the ions of lead and iodide in the same beaker, suddenly there's a solid that forms a precipitate, and they don't dissolve. All right, now for the test, we're going to let you use this chart right here. So in Schoology, there's a reference chart for Unit 5, and it will look just like this. All right, it has that solubility chart there. It also has these polyatomic ion list as well, in case you need that. And then it also has the activity series, and that, remember, is for single replacement reactions. Elements that are higher up can replace elements that are lower down on the list. So the elements at the top are the most reactive, elements on the bottom are the least reactive. So for the test, this is a reference chart. If you want to print it out, you can. You can use this on the test. All right. For the quiz, you will also need to use this reference chart. And you can also use a periodic table too as well.